Just as Bursa has always been home to the varied beauties of the sea, the plain, and the mountains all in one place, in the same way it has embraced the varied faiths of Jews, Christians, Muslims, and others in one place, and has presented them like a painting made in the traditional Turkish Ebru marbled paper art style, where the colors remain distinct yet interact with each other. The neighborhood of Yashil, with the sound of the Quran being read echoing off the green tiles of the green mosque. The Christians with their hymns in Iznik or Nicaea, the spiritual atmosphere of Emir Sultan, the monks of Mount Uludağ, and the miraculous signs of the dervishes. All these symbolize Bursa. Mount Uludağ is where Christian monks used to retreat for solitary reflection. In its history, it has been called Monk's Mountain, in addition to its even older name of Mount Olympos of Bithynia. It is a secret treasure, as can be seen when one visits the basilica in Büyükorhan and the ruins of the chapel and monastery nearby. The city of Iznik or Nicaea, built on the shores of the largest lake in the Marmara region of Turkey, is considered one of the 8 pilgrimage sites of Christendom, and is the third most important holy site of the Christian world, after the Vatican and Jerusalem. In 325 AD, the first church council was held in Nicaea's Senate Palace, and in 787 AD, the seventh church council was held in Nicaea's Hagia Sophia Church. This Byzantine church, built in the 8th century right in the center of Iznik, or Nicaea, was turned into a mosque when Orhan Gazi conquered Iznik. In the time of Sultan Süleyman the Magnificent, improvements were made to it by the famous architect Sinan, and today it is in service as a museum. Another lake which lies to the south of Bursa is Uluabat. One can find the remains of religious sites in the communities around the shores of this lake as well. For example, the construction of the Helene Konstantinos Church found here was never completed, and it was never actually used for worship. The vaulted church in Trilye is a glorious structure, which was built for the Byzantine emperor. It shows us the importance that was placed on this region at that time in history. When one calls to mind that there were 55 Christian villages in Bursa, it wouldn't be hard to guess that there would have been a large number of churches in the region, especially along the seacoast. Today, the only church that is open for worship is the French church in the center of Bursa. With its wooden and tile facing, the church is known to have been built in the 19th century. The existence of Anatolian Greek and Armenian churches are an important testimony to the religious mosaic of Bursa. The synagogues, which are the worship places of the Jewish faith in Bursa, are found on Arap Şükrü Street. When the Jewish community was exiled from Spain at the end of the 14th century, the Ottoman Emperor Selim II sent galleons to transport them and bring them to the Ottoman Empire. The first groups of the Jewish community to settle in Bursa had the Gerush synagogue built. Gerush means exiled or driven away in Hebrew. This place of worship is still used for worship by its Jewish community. Bursa, being the first capital of the Ottomans, has many examples of Islamic art and architecture. The Sufi leaders Geyikli Baba and Abdal Murat had settled in Bursa even before the conquest of the city and were examples of tolerance in their lifestyles. The Ahis, who were influenced by this way of life, took on the creed, "Be kind, even to your enemies." In the city center of Bursa still stand 127 historic mosques, with its 45 tombs, 19 mausoleums, 34 madrasa or Quranic schools, 15 lodging houses, dervish houses, and schools scattered throughout the city, Bursa is like a giant open-air museum awaiting visitors. Located within the walls of the city and built in 1355, Alauddin Mosque is Bursa's first Ottoman mosque. One point of interest is that its minaret is made of bricks rather than the usual stone. Shehadet Mosque, which was actually built as a church, is a symbol of how Bursa's Muslim and non-Muslim communities live together in peace and harmony. Bursa's non-Muslims requested that their church be turned into a mosque of their own volition because of the great understanding shown to them by Sultan Murat I, and thus this structure was transformed from a church into a mosque. The inscription above the side door of the mosque is Bursa's oldest inscription. Alauddin, Kabaklı, and Shehadet mosques may be the first Ottoman mosques, but Ulu Cami, or the Great Mosque, built on 12 bases and covered with 20 domes, is the most majestic structure in the center of the city. Built by Yıldırım Beyazıt between the years 1396 and 1400, Bursa's Great Mosque is considered to be the fifth most important place of worship in the religion of Islam, taking its place among the mosques of Mecca, Medina, Jerusalem, and Damascus. The covering of the Kaaba next to the pulpit of this mosque on the south side is a real original brought from Mecca. On the right of the pulpit are examples of calligraphic art sent from Konya by Mevlana Celaleddin Rumi himself. The pulpit as a whole symbolizes the universe. Even though the solar system and the planets were not known in that period, it is amazing to see the planets represented in their proper order on this pulpit. The 200 examples of calligraphic art found inside this mosque are the most original examples of calligraphic art one can find. The crosses which are found on the window grates and walls of this double minareted mosque are a testimony to the religious tolerance inscribed in stone and have been giving a message of tolerance for centuries. The Green Mosque and tomb have become a symbol of Bursa. It is decorated with turquoise and other ceramic tiles, which represent the road from death into eternity. Its tiled mihrab, or niche showing the direction of prayer, is considered a masterpiece, the apex of Ottoman tile art. The Green Tomb, started during the reign of Mehmet I and completed during Murat II's reign, was constructed as an expression that the Ottomans had come through the chaotic Fetret period and were now preparing for much brighter days ahead. This tomb structure not only has spectacular tiles covering its entire exterior, but also hexagonal turquoise tiles covering its interior. The Green Mosque, located next to the Green Tomb, is an expression of architectural preeminence and of masterful craftsmanship. The Green Tomb is called the dome that attracts and collects spiritual light, and the Green Mosque is next to the Green Tomb and shares its name. It is among the most important examples of the first period of Ottoman architecture. When one enters through the Touch, or Crown Gate, which has one of the most spectacular examples of stonework one can find, one's eyes are dazzled by the walls and fountain covered with green and turquoise tiles, with the trickling sound of the fountain's waters mixing with the sound of the Quran being read and echoing off the tiles throughout the structure. The daylight filtering in through the windows almost seems like spiritual light coming down to earth from heaven. One of the most magnificent examples of the tilemaker's art is on the mihrab, or niche which indicates the direction of Mecca, which is 10 meters high. This mihrab, which is decorated with geometric designs and flowers, is one of the most beautiful parts of the mosque. The window shutters and doors are some of the most beautiful examples of the woodworking craftsmanship of the period. The Green Mosque, which was visited by Elizabeth II, Queen of England, to listen to a reading of the Quran, is one of the most holy places where even those of different religions can call out to God. The Green Mosque of Iznik or Nicaea is known as one of the structures that is infused with the architecture of the Seljuks, and yet is an example of the movement to a unique Ottoman style. The elements that lend uniqueness to the Green Tomb and Mosque is without a doubt their Iznik tiles. The Iznik tile industry flourished during the Ottomans' brightest period, but waned and disappeared during the 18th century as the palace's economic strength dissipated. However, in the present days, research is rediscovering the secrets of how Iznik tiles were made, and new workshops are once again springing up in Iznik to produce tiles for the world's most outstanding structures. One of Bursa's most visited locations is Emir Sultan Mosque and Tomb. Because he was a famous scholar, and of the line of the Prophet Muhammad, he was known as Emir, and because he was married to Yildirim Beyazit's daughter, he was known as Sultan. In 1391, he immigrated to Bursa from Bukhara. The place of worship known as Emir Sultan was built at the beginning of the 15th century by his wife Hundi Fatma Hatun. It is the mosque with the largest dome and courtyard in Bursa. Emir Sultan, who lived during the reigns of 3 different Ottoman sultans, enthroned the sultans Yildirim, Çelebi Mehmet, and Murat II. It is said that he had the miraculous power to cure soldiers wounded in battle. Emir Sultan's sarcophagus sits in the middle of his tomb, surrounded by brass bars. All these mosque complexes, built by the different Ottoman sultans in different parts of the city, cause Bursa to ring with the sounds of the call to prayer echoing from the mosques. Orhan Mosque, which is one of the most important of the mosques built during the Ottoman period, is the first mosque built outside the walls of the city. Muradiye Mosque is in a Baroque style, with an Ottoman-style pulpit and mihrab, or niche, to indicate the direction of prayer toward Mecca. Yildirim Mosque is one of the most monumental examples of winged mosques. Hudavendigar Mosque displays different features than the other mosques, with its interesting Mediterranean architectural structure and ornamentations. The mosque's architect was an Anatolian Greek, and the mosque itself is thought to be built upon an old Byzantine palace or other Byzantine ruins. Süleyman Çelebi was the imam of the Ulu Cami or Great Mosque, and he wrote the Mevlüt, or epic poem celebrating and praising the life of Muhammad. His tomb is near the monument for Karagöz and Hacivat. According to Bursa's official records, there were 70,000 Islamic saints and 30 Islamic saints who were well known and whose tombs were visited by the public. The 3 religions of Judaism, Christianity, and Islam, in an atmosphere of the utmost respect and tolerance, and standing to the present day, put Bursa into a different category than other cities.